Welcome to Sausage on a Fork, a podcast dedicated to the UK's longest running children's drama programme, Grange Hill. My name's Neil, and in each episode I'll interview a former cast member about their life before, during and after their time on the programme. Okay, welcome to the latest episode of Sausage on a Fork, and I am absolutely delighted to say that I have been joined for this episode by none other than Belinda Crane, who played Lucy Mitchell. Belinda, welcome to Sausage on a Fork.
Thank you, Neil. It's an absolute pleasure.
Not at all. And what we'll do is we'll start this episode the way we start every episode. And if you could tell us how you first got into acting.
So, from my memory, I was with my mum on the set of a commercial that Dave was having filmed. It was just a commercial for Carpenter's album, I believe. And someone had a great idea. Let's just put this little girl on the steps with this boy, and well, that's actually his sister, and we didn't really look alike.
Yeah.
And of course, I was so young. What was I, 3 or something? I don't know. So, I just went along with what everyone was saying. Do this, do that. I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And because he was my brother, that wasn't scary at all. Just
yeah,
hanging out with my bro, and that was all fine. And as far as I was aware, that's how I kind of got into it. And then my mum signed me up with the agency, and off I went. But she reliably informed me that I actually did a bit of modelling prior to that with a model agency. But I don't recall, I think because I was just so young, so small. All my memories are like being on a set with cameras and costumes and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was all very make-believe and fun from a young age.
Yeah, so you just said there about getting into the agency. So which agency was it that you were in?
So I was with Sylvia Young for my acting career, but I was modelling with Norrie Carr, which was my eldest brother was. He was a model with that agency, and then I think Dave got roped into it as well.
And so when you were at Sylvia Young's, then did you get sort of much work before Grange Hill?
I mean, I remember going to auditions all the time after school. My mum had rushed me in the car to the train station into London, meeting all these people that I didn't know. Believe it or not, I was a really, really shy kid. And I was told, yeah, just go in, just answer their questions and do what they ask you to do. And that's all I really knew. So I just went along with it. Never really questioned any of it, but I always felt this is just, I didn't really enjoy talking to adults much. I felt just shy and vulnerable and silly most of the time. Ask you, read this and do this and behave like this. And I did it because I thought that that's what everybody did. I didn't really question it. But, when I look back, I was just a shy little girl. I didn't used to like to talk much to people that I didn't know. I didn't feel very comfortable with it at all. But like I said, I've done it for so many years that it just was normal, I guess, for me. So I remember going to lots of auditions and lots of knockbacks. And again, I was told this is normal. You're not going to get everything you go for. You just might not be what they're looking for. And I guess you grow thick skin with that, don't you? I guess you just you're like, okay, accept it. This is what it is. You're not going to get everything you go for. That's absolutely fine. Move on to the next one. You never know. And I think I did quite a lot of commercials actually. Before Grange Hill came along, various different commercials. Some with Dave as well.
Yeah.
It was. I loved it.
There is one advert that everyone sort of remembers the advert at the time, but I don't know if people might realise that it was you, and it was the McCain chips advert, the Feed Me advert.
So that advert is going to haunt me for the rest of my life. I remember I was in primary school. I think I must have been in one of the upper years. I remember the night the next morning from the night that first aired. And I walked onto the school playground, and then I just had like this bunch of schoolmates just chasing me around, yelling, "Feed me!" Feed me! Playground, like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm going to get more. And I'm like, no. And from then on, I was just tormented.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Absolutely tormented by these people that were just, I'm like, oh, God, I'm never going to live this one down, am I? So
So
yeah, that's probably the thing that I'm remembered for.
so you don't watch Little Shop of Horrors whenever it comes on. Then obviously that's where the song
No,
came from.
yeah, I didn't know that at the time. I had no idea. It wasn't until afterwards that I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, that's where it came from. I think that advert got banned, didn't it? I think.
did he?
I
Yeah,
think they found that the children were just too rude, demanding
yeah.
food from their parents like that. I think it got taken off TV after a while.
But I mean,
Not before the whole world was tormenting you for it.
because because like you were in that one, but earlier on today, I'm going to say you sent me a link to another McCain's advert that I don't like. I remember the advert because I remember of Desmond Askew's in it. But you were in
Yeah,
another one. I mean, what was it?
so I did.
Did you just look like someone who liked eating chips? Is that what it was?
Perhaps, yeah. Well, that, yeah. I remember. Yeah, I just remember just sat there with these people, and they were really nice and friendly. And Desmond was there, and we just sat there at the table, and there was just a mountain of chips, and they're like, yeah, just have a good time and eating. There's only a couple of them that had lines, so we were just sitting there munching away. I must have ate a ton of them that day.
So, I mean,
But
did you?
yeah, it was good fun.
I mean, you said about being in the adverts and stuff, and you did a little bit of telly. So, did you get to work with anyone who, like, we might know, we might have heard of in those early days?
Oh gosh, no, I remember when I was quite young, I was in a bunch of kids that was running along Albert Square.
Right? Yeah,
So I mean, that was back in the days of like Letitia Dean, and when they
yeah,
were in, and Dirty Den when they were in, it was the
yeah,
height of that era, And I remember just being in a bunch of kids running across Albert Square, but that was like a 5 second appearance, and I
yeah.
was quite young at the time. But as for adverts, no, I don't know that I was. I didn't really do many adverts once I'd gotten
Yeah.
to Grange Hill, to be honest.
We were sort of messaging the other week, and like, we were talking about like your IMDb page, which we know isn't the most reliable of sources, because there was
Mm.
something you're listed in
No,
something called All Good Things, but you weren't sure that you were actually in that, if I remember
I
rightly.
think yeah, it was only like one episode. I think I might have been a kiddie from one of the one of the people in the show, but it's like I say, I don't remember doing it at all.
Right.
So I think it probably just was a very,
Yeah.
very small part
And
in one episode. But why it features on
yeah.
IMDb, I don't know. But
Teenage Health Freak.
Teenage Health Week, that was another just one episode, I think. And I don't even remember much about that either. There was this voiceover that I did for this animated short film called
Oh yeah.
Balloon. If you've ever seen it, there was no speech. It was all like just like noises.
Right.
Like I had this red balloon, and I loved this balloon, and someone was trying to steal it from me. It was I tried to sit my kid down. Girls, watch this. This was my voice, and they're like, "What is this?" I'm like, "I don't know. It's really weird." And I remember standing in the studio with this mic, just like, "Oh,"
Yeah.
it was
Okay.
very odd, but yeah.
So we'll talk then now about obviously about Grange Hill. So how did that one come about for you then?
Oh, I was so excited because Dave was already on Grange Hill, and I'd never watched it before he was in it. So,
Right.
and then of course, when I started watching it, I was hooked just like everybody else. I
Yeah.
loved it. This is great. And I was watching my brother on TV, and then they said, "Oh, do you want to audition for Grange Hill? There's a part," and I was like, "Yeah, great, let's go." So I remember going, and they said, "Right, you're auditioning for a part. Girl is named Jodie, and she's a bit of a footballer. So we want you to all go in the room and have just a bit of a kick around and play football." And I'm like, yeah, I wasn't really into football, I'll be honest, but I weren't against all around with a whole bunch of people, get stuck in.
Uh-huh.
So I did. Um, and they at the end of the session, they said, right, we're gonna keep a few people back. I think they must have called about 10 names maybe, and mine was one of them. I was like, oh, this is so we went back in, I think, one by one, and we just did a little sort of read through in the office with a couple of people, and they were talking, just saying what this girl, she's a bit of a tomboy. She likes, playing football, and it's all she really loves to do. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't mind. I'm quite tomboyish myself. I've got two older brothers. I
Uh-huh.
do what the boys do. I'm not really that girly, really. Um, And they said, okay, yeah, great. So I did my read through and I said, well, thanks very much. See you later. We'll let you know. And I think by the time I got home, I had a phone call to say, no, sorry, you didn't get the part. And I'm like, oh, well, that's a shame. And then I think the next morning, there was a phone call saying, we think you'd just be right for the part of Lucy.
Right.
And I'm like, Lucy?
Yeah.
Who's Lucy? Never heard anything about this character, but okay, if you think so. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
That's it. They just gave me the part of Lucy.
What was it like then, sort of going from seeing the people on
Mm.
telly to then all of a sudden you're in the same room as them?
Oh, a bit surreal. A bit
Yeah.
surreal. Not so much when my brother was there, but I didn't have many scenes with him at all. I just I just remember being in this big rehearsal room on the first day with all these strange faces that I didn't really know, maybe just one or two of them, Dave and his friends. And then it was just very odd. It was just a very big space and it kind of swallowed me whole. I felt very, very small.
Yeah.
I guess people describe it as imposter syndrome, don't they? Like, what am I
Yeah.
doing here?
Yeah.
This is just but I just went along with it and I just did what I'd always done, just did what I was supposed to do. And they gave me this script and I've, read through the lines and I've, done my bit. And then, I met Jodie and I'm like, wow, she
Yeah.
really is Jodie. Like
Yeah.
no wonder she got the part.
Yeah.
Much better fit than I was.
Uh,
So yeah, Lucy was created and I met Mel and Alan and
yeah.
yeah, we just kind of all got along and gelled quite quickly, I think.
Brilliant.
It was a bit strange, it was a bit surreal,
Yeah.
but I was really happy to be there, really happy.
Yeah. Because you started in series 16, which would have gone on the air in 93. But you joined in the second year, year 8, and there was no sort of like big introduction. It was like Lucy had always sort of been there. Diane and Fiona had left. So obviously, as you've mentioned there, working with Mel and Natalie, who played Jodie. So yeah,
Mm.
so Lucy was friends with Lauren and Jodie. And in the first time we see Lucy, she's asks Dennis if he's heard from Andy. And Dennis said, well, yeah, he did. His dad had bought a telescope so he'd be able to see the asteroid that was going to be crashing into. Dennis was convinced that this asteroid was going to be crashing into the Earth. But Lucy was actually asking if Andy's mum had the baby yet. And Dennis
That was my very first line.
Yeah.
But what about the baby?
Yeah.
Has his mum had the baby yet? That's my very first line. I'll never forget it.
Because it was really weird because that series didn't sort of start with like it's the first day of term. It was like it was supposed to be like a few weeks in already. Like, and I don't know, they were obviously just trying to change things up a little bit rather than always first day of term, first, or like that. And Dennis got detention from Mr. Robson for not having his homework done because he was absolutely obsessed with the asteroid. And it was Lucy said to Mr. Robson, Dennis didn't see any point in doing his homework because he was convinced that the world was going to end at 3:20 when the asteroid hit. Obviously, the asteroid didn't hit. And Lucy took great delight in telling Dennis that he would have to do his detention. Now, you've mentioned there about the football, because that was a big thing in that series in that year. And Lucy and her mates were backing for Jodie to be part of the team, but Mr. Robson wouldn't allow it because the FA wouldn't allow it, was his official stance. And when Mel was on the other week, she said about the fact that Natalie had to do like a proper like football audition as well as auditioning. But did you have to do any of that? Could you play football? I mean, I know you've mentioned it a little bit.
They put us in the rehearsal room and made us kick around this ball and like just play football.
Yeah.
Because I went for the part of Jodie, that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
I went in this room and I played football. I don't know how many times that they did that audition. I don't ever remember meeting Natalie when I was there. So I think it must have done several and got through quite a few people to try and find the right fit for her part. But yeah, I remember just having to go in there and just play football. It was like its very own little audition and let's see how good you are sort of thing. I obviously was rubbish.
As I said, it featured quite heavily, and there was all sorts of things where Mr. Robson wasn't letting them play, but then this other school came and they had girls playing for the team. And because it was a friendly that Mr. Robson allowed it, but he still wouldn't let Jodie play. So Jodie, Lucy, and Lauren watched the game, and when the other team scored, when the girls on the other team scored, they were all up cheering. And there was also that year the tuck shop, the right to win the tuck shop, to run it. And I remember saying to Mel the other week, it just seemed on Grange Hill that whenever there was any sort of like extra jobs needed doing, the teachers were like, "Oh, we'll get the kids to do them." Like,
Got it.
yeah. So the girls were wanting to run it, and they used their cookery lesson to make samples of extra things that they were wanting to sell. But the lads at the same time, Dennis and Andy, wanted to run the tuck shop, but they knew that they were nowhere near as good as the girls. So Andy poured the curry powder into the fruit juice that they were making, and they also nicked the girls' recipe book as well. But it was poor old Mr. Mackenzie who tasted the fruit juice and said about the curry in it. But the girls did eventually win the right to run the tuck shop. I mean, it's so Grange Hill, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Putting curry in the fruit juice, like,
yeah.
And like I say, those two storylines were going on with the tuck shop and with the football, because there was the bit with the advertising company came in to make an advert for shoes, and Lucy was picked to be in the advert because at first he thought he wanted lads, but he actually wanted girls. And there was the girls' hockey match. It was going on, and it was the girls used it as an opportunity to turn it into a football match so that Mr. Robson got to see them playing. But the thing about that one was Andy had told Dennis that he thought a girl fancied him because she kept looking at him wherever he was. But he didn't actually realise that it was more likely that it was Dennis she was looking at. He didn't realise, he didn't want to say who it was, but Dennis sort of realised, worked out that Lucy was the girl. Like, and Dennis suggested that Andy went to watch the girls' hockey match because Dennis had realised that, as I say, like Lucy probably liked him. And that's when we say at the hockey match, the girls turned it into a football match. Could you play hockey?
Right. So here's the thing. In secondary school, they made us play hockey, and I did not like it because, my God, did it hurt when I got hit with a ball or a stick. So I thought, right, I'm going to play you at your own game. So I just went straight in there with a hockey stick. I would deliberately bash other people's ankles, smack the ball, and I've got a terrible aim, so I don't know where I was hitting this ball, but I was just so that people didn't hit me and I didn't get hit. So I was only a small, tiny, I stand very tiny little person. So I'm like, don't know, because that hurts a lot. So I'm whacking this hockey stick. And my teacher said to me, "Oh, you're actually really good at this game." Like, I don't like playing this game. It hurts. So no, didn't enjoy hockey. Didn't like hockey. But, for Grange Hill, oh, I love
it. Brilliant. And that's when Mr. Robson eventually caved and said the girls could have a team. And they convinced Ray to coach the football team. And Mr. Robson arranged a match between the girls and the boys. But despite how involved Lucy was in that story, when the match actually happened, she didn't play. Like, you weren't involved. It was like you were just sort of in the audience watching. But would you like to have been involved in that one?
Oh, I wouldn't have minded. There was a reason I think she was on the sidelines. Was she just eyeing up Dennis? Is that what she was doing?
I think so.
I don't actually remember that game being played. I think they just realised, hang on a minute, there's a new love interest thing we can start here. And
yeah,
so I think I was on the sidelines just so I could eye the boys up.
Yeah, well, Dennis told Andy that he didn't have to worry about Lucy anymore. Now, I have to ask, because obviously the Lucy and Dennis storyline that ran right throughout your time on Grange Hill. And so what was it like when you're going in, you're 11 years old, and they say, oh, by the way, you're going to have a boyfriend?
Here's your love interest.
Yeah.
Like, at 11 years old, boys are just annoying.
Yeah.
They just are. You show me an 11-year-old girl that doesn't think boys are annoying.
Yeah.
And, Alan and Xander, they sometimes they were quite annoying. let's be honest. I mean, both lovely, really really lovely boys. No, Xander was only there for the 1 year that I was there for.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, Alan was, well, Dennis was Lucy's love interest on and off for all those years. So yeah, just we had a lot of scenes together.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, he was always up for a laugh, and I took my job very seriously. So sometimes that could come across maybe as, we didn't get along, or I did just sometimes find him very annoying.
Fair
I'm being
enough.
absolutely brutal and honest. But I was 11, so was he, and I don't suppose he liked me much at the time. So I think I was a bit too bossy. I took my job way too serious. I would just, the ultimate professional.
Yeah.
Come on now. I think I spent most of my time telling him off. Come on, stop laughing.
Brilliant. Well, we've mentioned the tuck shop already, and Mrs. Mason, the school secretary, brought her nephew Bevis in, played by Lee Whitlock, as he was like the supplier of sweets for a tuck shop, and he sold them some chocolate hearts. It was weird. They didn't know how they were going to sell them. Just stick them on the counter. People will buy them, because they were worried about like Valentine's Day was too far away. So
yeah.
So they came up with Friendship Day instead. Where now this is where the first signs of blossom and romance for Dennis here, because Lucy gave Dennis a chocolate heart, and so Dennis asked her out. But Andy didn't realise what was going on. He was still a bit oblivious to it all, and said he'd help Dennis to keep away from Lucy. And Dennis eventually got rid of Andy. By the time he went to meet Lucy, she'd waited long enough and she'd gone. And when now this made me laugh when I watched this, because when Dennis tried to apologize, Lucy said it was the first time she'd been stood up. And I'm thinking, you're only in second year, you're only in year 8. How many times have you been out with someone? Like,
did you really say that?
Yeah. It was the first time she'd been stood up. I mean, I'm thinking, how many dates have you been on, girl?
She had. Unbelievable.
And then she also said it would be the last time as well. And there was a bit where Lauren had been getting the blame for all like the pranks that Dudley had been playing on Mr. Parrot. And Lucy and Jodie were saying that he should own up to it, but Dennis didn't agree. And I wonder if he was just being a little bit spiteful to Lucy for not accepting his apology at the first time around. In the end, though, he did apologize properly, and they arranged to meet again. But then Lucy said she couldn't go because she had to go to football practice. Dennis didn't really believe her. He was expecting her not to turn up. But then they did eventually go on their first date. Now, can you remember what their first date was? It was pretty spectacular.
Honestly, no.
So
remember.
Their first date was Kenny's wedding, Ray's brother's wedding.
Oh, yes. Yes, those outfits.
Yeah.
Oh, my word. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the girls, like the exact same outfit for the girls and the boys. They look like little feathers. And I'm thinking, whoa, strange idea for a wedding. I think the boys felt so silly. The girls got away with it. It was quite cutesy. But I mean, the boys just felt.
You say it's a strange idea, but when you see what Kenny was wearing and the way Kenny was made up, it fits it perfect. Nothing matched so anyway. Strange. Yeah, nothing matched apart from you four. But I love those episodes where everyone's in it together. Do you know what I mean? You get your whole main cast and they're all there together. Like I love all that. So then that moves us on to series 17, the third year that Lucy was your second year, but Lucy's third year at the school. And the drama club, they were going to do Romeo and Juliet, and there was a rehearsal with an improvisation that went wrong, and all the lads decided to leave the drama club. And the girls decided that they were going to keep the drama club going, but they abandoned Romeo and Juliet and wrote their own play. Now, just as an aside on that, this was also the year that Francesca Martinez and Lisa Hammond joined. And there's a scene where they're in a taxi and they end up giving Lucy and Jodie a lift. Now, the only reason I mentioned that is, did you have any idea at that time those two would go on to have the careers that they had?
I'm not surprised about Chess. She was hilarious.
Yeah.
She, she, she was lovely and so funny, so smart, so intelligent. So was Lisa,
Yeah.
really funny. No, that doesn't surprise me
Right.
at all.
Brilliant. No. Brilliant. Okay. So back at the drama club, as we've just mentioned there, the girls were holding a rehearsal and the lads all came in, all full of, bravado, machismo, whatever you want to call it. And they started messing about. And Lucy asked Dennis to stop. And you can see Dennis is sort of caught in two minds, but in the end, it's like, look, I'm with me mates here, I'm going to carry on. And that was where it led to Jessica getting assaulted. And like, I've asked a few people this who were in that scene. Can you remember, like, did the atmosphere change when you were filming the scene like that?
No, that I noticed it, to be honest with you. I mean, I think there's a bit of stillness when something had happened.
Yeah.
So perhaps there was a little bit, but there was quite a few of us there, so the energy was quite up in the room anyway.
Yeah.
When quite a few are together. But yeah, I think there was a quietness or stillness, and I think that's when there was, a moment of something's just happened, but it wasn't very clear at the time what exactly had happened until sort of Jessica had spoken out. Yeah, it's a bit of a hazy memory actually.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a scene that I think I've featured in too prominently. I think I was in the background of that. Yeah, the focus was kind of elsewhere, so I don't think I was really paying too much attention at the time to what was going on between Jessica and whoever else.
Yeah.
It wasn't clear, was it, who was responsible?
Well, no, I mean, it came out a lot later, and I know when Ian Rushmere was on, and he was saying, nobody knew when it was filmed who the actual the culprit actually was, which I like as well. Like that changes it as well, and it would change all the other scenes where people are like protesting their innocence. You know what I mean? I think that was really good as well. Now, there's a scene where all the kids are in class and Mrs. Munro walks in and asks everyone to stay completely still because she's imagining the school brochure and what it would look like. Now, I only mention that because that's a scene you're in with Anna Quayle. Now, did you have any idea who she was? When David was on, he said that Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was always on in your house. Oh, and he had no idea that she was in.
No, I didn't even really look that different. I guess in my mind, there was no way that anyone that had been on Chitty Chitty Bang Bang would be on the set with me. There's absolutely no way. Like, this is a movie star that I used to watch on the TV all the time, on repeat, I might add.
Yeah.
So I guess I just didn't put the two together. And it wasn't until afterwards that I was like, wow, like that's something. That really is something. She was amazing. She was lovely.
Yeah.
She was great. Such a lovely, kind, warm person. Really, really nice energy. Yeah. Really nice to be around. She was lovely with us kids.
Yeah. I mean, everyone says the same. Like, and no one's got a bad word about her. Like, everyone just says how down to earth she was. So I know, and how great she was with everyone. But what was the relationship in general between the kids and the adults like?
Yeah, I mean, quite good. I don't remember. There was only really one teacher that I think Lucy had grown quite close with. Adam Ray, Mr. Brisley.
Yeah.
But that came later. But in the earlier days, teachers would be sort of pop in and pop out. There was that. I know that with Mr. Parrott, it's a little bit more of a storyline there, but wasn't so much directly involved with me. But yeah, they used to pop in, they used to pop out, but they were all lovely. Um, yeah, they were all really, really lovely. They were all great with us kids, and they we must have tested their patience. We must have.
Everyone says that as well.
There was a lot of us, and there was only a few of them.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay. So the girls did write their own play, as we said, called Bits and Pieces. They performed it for Mrs. Munro. But unbeknownst to the girls, they were also performing it for Dennis and Dudley, who were hiding under the stage blocks in the hall as well.
Yes, they do.
And yeah, now during that performance, Lucy was in a scene from The Taming of the Shrew, which ends with Jessica pouring a glass of water over Lucy's head. I'm assuming that was done in one take. Like they didn't keep asking you to do that one.
Yeah, no, maybe 2 or 3
Right? Wow.
If I recall right.
Mrs. Munro said that she liked the play, but said they couldn't put it on in the school because it would close the school down. And as I've said, Dennis and Dudley were under the stage blocks and all sorts of stuff had been put on top of them. So when they tried to get out of the blocks, a load of the stuff got wrecked. A lot of the sets got wrecked. So at first the girls were all under suspicion for it. So they decided they'd go and find out who it was. They'd find out for themselves who done it. And the first person Lucy asked was Dennis, who said he'd left school at 3:30 with Dudley. Dennis was convinced Lucy suspected him. Funnily enough, there was a science lesson then about taking fingerprints, which gave the girls an idea for finding out who did it. So they asked Mr. Hankin to help them out, and they realised that someone must have been under the stage blocks because there was a footprint inside. And Lucy told Dennis that they found a clue, which was a dead giveaway as to who it was. But we'll come back to that one because the girls then went ahead and performed their play in the park. The lads are there was loads of sex in it, so that's why the lads had all gone to watch it. And when they were there, it was Dudley that started shouting, "Get him off!" To which the girls grabbed him up out the audience and said, "Look, if you want our clothes off, you take your clothes off first." Now, Dudley, in my eyes, is one of the greatest characters ever.
Oh my
ever in Grange Hill.
Just amazing. That was fabulous bit of writing for that character. I mean, he was there was one of them in every school, wasn't there?
Yeah, definitely.
And he was just Stephen Hammock was just the best. Like we got along quite well, and his character was just classic.
Yeah,
Dudley and the stuff that he would get up to. I remember them like sort of pulling at his tie and trying to we're gonna pull your clothes off, sort of thing.
Honestly, one of the greatest characters in Grange Hill. The girls added a little bit into the play, and it was about the sets getting wrecked. And the whole time they were performing it, Lucy was glaring at Dennis because Lucy by now knew that it was him. And Dennis is trying to get back on side with her, but he was getting nowhere. So he decided to tell her about smashing up the set, smashing up the props. When he told her, she said she already knew because of the footprints, which made me wonder a little bit because there's hundreds of kids in that school, but Lucy knew it was Dennis's shoe. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no one else could have had the same shoes as him. No. Nobody else could have
I knew exactly what print he had in his shoe.
But then she said that they were finished. And as he's trying to protest, that was when he let slip that he knew that it was Brian who had assaulted Jessica at the drama rehearsal because he'd seen it happen but hadn't told anyone. And then he says to her, "So now I've told you, can we be mates?" You know what I mean? Like that was
it's gonna make everything better.
Yeah. And Lucy obviously went straight to Brian and told him that she was going to tell Jess, going to tell Mr. Robson and all that. But Jess didn't want to go in any further. And like when I was speaking to Amy, and she said, unfortunately, that's the sort of position that a lot of girls are in. And I just think it was great that Grange Hill sort of dealt with that and showed that. And it was something that they did so well. The fact that, a lot of girls don't want to report or don't want to take things further because you have to like sort of bring it back up, or anyone who's been a victim of any sort of
Yeah.
abuse. But like I say, I just thought it was handled so well. And like I say, that's exactly what Grange Hill did and did well, didn't wasn't it?
That's true. It was a true reflection of the sorts of issues that
Uh-huh.
were, people have struggled with those things, and they feel like, I can't relive that again, can't go over that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it affects so many people. They did, you're right. It was close to the edge, but yeah, definitely hit the right spot there.
Yeah. Now, Lucy joined the school choir, and the choir was going to Germany, but Lucy couldn't go. Can you remember Lucy's reason for not being able to go?
Lucy go. I don't remember.
So it was her granddad's 60th birthday. So she couldn't, because she said, I can't miss that. But was there any reason that for you not going on that trip?
Honestly, I don't remember, but if they had have heard me sing, then that would have sealed the deal, because I cannot sing. So if they've even caught a glimpse, if I've even tried to belt something out and they've gone, hang on a minute,
Yeah.
we can't use this voice, then they just made up some granddad. She can't go for that reason.
Brilliant.
No, I don't know. I didn't even realize that would be on the radar, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So no, I think it was all scripted out. I don't think she was ever going to go, really.
Right. Okay. And towards the end of that series, we saw Lucy sort of spending more time with Josh. But when she told him that she wasn't going to Germany, he just didn't seem that bothered about it, and which left Lucy a little bit sort of disappointed there. And then we move on then to series 18, Lucy's fourth year, and Dennis was still trying to get on Lucy's good side. And one of the ways he did that was when he went to see Julie Corrigan, who was camping on the school field
Yeah.
for their protest. And he actually went to her to hope that she would put in a good word for him. I don't know why someone 2 or 3 years older than him would have done that, but there we go. He took Julie some chocolate, which was actually meant for Lucy. But when Dennis had gone, Lucy said that she liked him, but he got on her nerves most of the time. Now, that just sounds like you talking about Alan, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Quite an authentic scene, really.
Dennis went to Lucy's to walk her to school, but Lucy told him that Josh was coming to walk her to school, and Josh wouldn't be too happy to see him. But Josh never turned up, so Dennis did actually walk her to school instead. So he's slowly getting back in there. And there was a school fundraising day where there was a rugby match between the year 10 and year 12 girls, and you were involved in that. So you've mentioned your hockey, you've mentioned your football, but was rugby something that you would have been able to play as well?
I'd turn my hand to anything. Yeah, I'd have been great. No, tiny little me. Doesn't make sense in any world, any parallel universe. I don't mind watching rugby. That's great, but play it? Oh no, no, I don't think so.
Brilliant.
I certainly don't remember playing any. I don't
No.
remember being on any playing any rugby.
Brilliant.
Jodie was a sporty one, not Lucy.
I mean, I think it was a sort of a very, in the context of the episode, it's very, very, a very short bit. It was mainly sort of for Jess and Paula to make up their differences, that rugby match. Like, so we also met this year. We met Lucy's dad for the first time, played by Tim
Timothy
Benting.
Benting.
And
yeah,
I mean, when you get given a family and a home and all that, everyone says it's great because it just adds a different dimension to the character as
it
well.
really did.
So what was it like getting to work
Yeah.
with Tim? Because obviously it gets far more intense as we go on. Like, but what was it?
Yeah.
Working with him, like, must have been great.
Yeah. Again, what a lovely, lovely man. He was so kind, and just understanding, I think, of everything that a 14, 15-year-old, is dealing with, on set, offset.
Yeah.
and thrust into a situation which was quite a big storyline. And it's odd, isn't it? Because when you've got somebody there that's playing your dad, and they couldn't be more different from your own actual
Right.
dad, that's quite odd to get your head around, because that's probably, in my childhood career of acting, probably the only acting dad I ever had.
Right.
So to have to treat him like my dad, for Lucy, because it was Lucy's dad, but
Uh-huh.
um, yeah, it was a little bit odd, actually, looking back, but couldn't have wished for a nicer guy to play my dad. To be honest with you, he
Yeah.
he, he was lovely,
Yeah. I
really,
mean,
really, really
because
lovely.
without a doubt, it was your biggest storyline in Grange Hill.
Yeah,
And for anyone that doesn't know, it was all about dealing with HIV. So how did you feel when you heard that storyline was coming out? Did
they
you,
asked me
right.
first. They said, look, we've got this storyline that we want Lucy to do, but we want to check with you first that you're happy to do it, because it's quite an important
Uh-huh.
storyline that tackles lots of myths about AIDS. Um, so they said that it could get quite sort of intense, some intense scenes and what have you. We want to make sure that you're absolutely happy to take that on. Um, and I thought, of all the storylines that Lucy had, they were fine, and but this was big, and I
Yeah.
knew that. I could sense that this is actually a big storyline, and something that I could really get my teeth into
Yeah.
and exercise my acting skill if I had any. Um, and there was no doubt in my mind. I was like, yeah, absolutely, I'll do it, absolutely, and just try to
Uh-huh.
do it justice.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so not a doubt in my mind, and yeah, I was quite happy to
Yeah. But did you
for
have to do much research for it?
it. Not really. I mean, they did do this. They did do a workshop
Yeah.
that I remember. It was very, very informative.
Yeah.
And that formed a part of an episode, actually,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it was more than that to me, because I was learning about AIDS and the different way that you could contract it and things. And this wasn't stuff, again, talk about hard hitting storylines. This
Yeah.
wasn't the stuff that they were telling us at school.
No.
We hadn't had a conversation, about these conditions at school. They never talked about it. So it was new. It was all new to me. I'd not,
Uh-huh.
ever encountered anyone that had AIDS before, and didn't really understand what it all meant. So it was very, very informative. So I kind of learned on the job, really.
Yeah.
Um, so I didn't really do any research, but um, the storyline was written so well,
Yeah.
I think, so well, that it kind of explained explained it in a way that a 15-year-old could relate
Yeah.
and understand, and comprehend, um and bust
Yeah.
myths. Like I say, it's, people didn't really know, um
Because they worked with the Terence Higgins Trust, didn't they? Have I got that right? Because I know the Terence Higgins Trust is mentioned in a couple of the episodes. Like,
yeah, I believe so. I'm not sure if it was representatives from them that came and did that workshop.
yeah, I think so
it,
because
it might well have been.
you've mentioned the fact that you did the workshop and it was part of the episode because that's really how that storyline starts out.
That's how it kind of started. You
Yeah,
know what? I really remember that. I was sort of rehearsing and filming those things, because they had us putting condoms on cucumbers.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we
yeah,
were just all like giggling,
yeah.
and like,
Brilliant.
this is so
I
odd,
mean,
but it was obviously hinting at a bigger thing.
but even what you've just said
Um,
there, putting
yeah,
condoms on to see that in a kids' TV program. Do you know what I mean? That
I
that that's
know.
massive as well,
Yeah,
isn't it? Like,
yeah. It is massively educational. Like I say, there
yeah,
wasn't really a lot of sex education in schools. Certainly wasn't a lot in my school anyway. So this was really kind of informative, and it
yeah,
was it was good. It was good to put that out there to the world and let other people see. This
yeah.
nothing really
Because
taboo about this. This is.
Like, and it all, it all starts off sort of quite in when you look back at it, knowing the storyline, it
Mm,
starts off quite innocent. It's
yeah,
really clever the way it's done because Lucy tells her mates that her mum wasn't well. She had the flu, and she caught everything going. Is the words, Lucy.
yeah,
And when you think about that, she's got no immune system, so obviously she's
no,
she's going to catch everything going. And Lucy still wasn't talking to Dennis, but it was Dennis heard that someone had rung the school for Lucy to get home, and it wasn't Lucy's dad; it was a neighbour. And Dennis managed to sneak Lucy out of the school and get her home. And when they get to Lucy's house, they see it. There's an ambulance there for her mum, and
yeah,
she's in a coma. And then it all sort of happens really quickly. But her mum then passes away, and it's meningitis. But then her dad sort of gets told that she was HIV positive. And like I say, for a kids program to be showing people dealing with that was amazing. And the fact that it was HIV had caused the meningitis, and obviously the dad was like understandably angry because he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know how mum's caught it and all that, but he's drawn his own conclusions. He sees Lucy wearing her mum's earrings, and he makes it take it off and pull at the earrings, which then causes Lucy obviously to start bleeding. And the dad sort of like panicking, but then says that the mum was having an affair, and then he then remembers that she'd had a blood transfusion because they'd had a crash when they were in America. And I thought that was cleverly done because that was shown in the workshop that before a certain time, before the blood was sort of screened and checked, people were catching it from blood transfusions.
yeah,
And it was then that the dad told Lucy how the mum had actually died. And we then sort of see Lucy having to deal with all of this and dealing with it. And like, there's a scene where she's in the bathroom and she starts throwing all her mum's things away. And there was a lad in it called Dean, and
yeah,
Dean was like, because there wasn't a proper bully in that year group, he's brought in for that. And
yeah,
the lad who played Dean did it so well because
brilliant.
I've watched it a couple of times recently, and I hate him like because he's so horrible,
Yeah,
brilliant at it.
I think it was smart actually bringing somebody in that Lucy didn't know because
Yeah,
there was no working relationship
yeah,
between us at all. And he came in and he just wasn't being very nice
no,
to me at all. And it really kind of, I remember just feeling like I was the victim of bullying,
yeah,
and Lucy had not experienced anything
yeah,
like that. So it was really clever for them to bring in someone new and target her in that way.
yeah,
Um,
because
it really helped, I think,
yeah,
um, to come across as quite, realistic. This is,
you see him sort of have his suspicions a little bit because there was like a follow up to the HIV awareness session, and obviously Lucy gets upset and run out. And on the playground, Dean goes over to her and is saying, like, oh, you were a bit touchy earlier on and all that. And he started working it out, and he's spray painted a locker, like a skull and crossbones on it, and plague and all that. And he's just horrible. The girls tried talking to Lucy, she just didn't want to know. Dean then told Dudley that Lucy's mum had died of AIDS, and that's when Dudley told Dennis, and they started fighting on all that. Because Dennis had said earlier on, like, he really liked Lucy's mum. He'd sent her a birthday card and all that, even when Lucy and Dennis weren't together. So Dennis obviously had that not only with Lucy, but he had a relationship with Lucy's parents as well. And Lucy then told the class that her mum had died of AIDS and about the blood transfusion and all that. But it then showed sort of people's, fears and confusion and prejudices and all that because people wouldn't get in the swimming pool with Lucy. And there was then the rumors going around that Lucy, had AIDS as well. And like parents were coming into the school to complain about the fact that there was a child there who may have AIDS, and the ignorance is rife right
yeah,
throughout it, which
yeah,
at that time in the 90s, ignorance was rife,
yeah,
wasn't it? And
absolutely.
and they did it so well. You've mentioned Adam Ray, who played Mr. Brisley, because he was sort of he was Lucy's sounding board. He was, the character that she leaned on throughout it all. And she actually told Mr. Pretty that she thought she had AIDS. It's obvious I must have it because I've lived with my mum for that long. And that scene, it's so good between the two of you. It really, really is, because we see Lucy's dealing with all this, and we just see Mr. Brisley just like, right, tell me what it is. You know, I can't give you any reassurances, but I'll tell you what I know, what I think, and it's just so good. And I've mentioned the Terence Higgins Trust, and that's where like Lucy went to see a counsellor
Yeah.
and decided that she would have a test, and convinced her dad that she would as well. But there's a scene in the canteen. I don't know if you remember this, where Lucy asks Jessica if she can have some of her drink
Yeah.
through the bottle, and she takes the bottle and drinks out of it, and then Jess is like, "Oh no, you can have that."
Have it, keep
Um,
it. Yeah.
but then Rachel then goes to take the bottle as well, but it just sort of shows the confusion, because the girls weren't necessarily being horrible to her on
No,
purpose, but they just didn't know,
they
and
didn't know.
they didn't know
Yeah.
what to do. They didn't know what to think.
Which
Um,
again was a true reflection of what was
yeah,
going on in everyday life for people then, because like you say, the ignorance, they
yeah,
just did not know.
yeah. And
So
like you
yeah,
say, whenever they tried to talk to her about it, Lucy didn't want to know, and she then said like she was waiting for the test results, and this bit like was heartbreaking, I thought, because she said she was telling Jodie that she prayed to God that the results would be okay, but then she said that she had nothing to offer God, because God already had her mum. And when you watch that and you just think, it's heartbreaking.
yeah.
And I watch that scene, you just think, yeah, what has she got? Dennis, good old Dennis, comes back again. Can you remember what he gave Lucy on the day she was going for her test results?
Don't.
He gave her his lucky pebble.
Oh, the lucky pebble. Oh, the lucky pebble.
He gave her his lucky
Yeah,
pebble.
the lucky pebble
Yeah.
that we'd not seen ever
No,
until
no.
this
And
lucky pebble.
but Dennis was there, and Dennis was there for Lucy all the time. Josh didn't want to know. Josh
Yeah,
was really standoffish and only spoke to her when her test results had come back negative,
yeah.
and then told her that there was no point in worrying. And you just think, oh my God, you're such an idiot. Lucy then lost Dennis's pebble, but gave her a lucky pencil case. I love that, because that's such a kid thing, like a lucky pencil case. And she actually said she'd learned at that time who her friends were. Now,
Yeah.
Series 19 came around, and it was your fifth year, and you were only in 11 episodes in this one, 1996, or
Right.
95, it would have been filmed. I'm
Yeah.
guessing GCSE year. Is that why?
That was my GCSE year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my GCSE year. So I can fully imagine that it was something to do with that. I don't think the school would have given permission for me to
Right.
be off too much in that year. So that's
Okay.
probably that's probably why.
The first scene you're with Rachel, and you see Joe out with another girl when he was meant to be
Mm,
out with Jessica, who was ill at the time.
yeah,
So Lucy and Rachel went and told Jessica what they'd seen. Jessica then went into school and finished with Joe. She then collapsed, and we found out Jessica had ME and went to
yeah.
California. Now, I just think, yeah, aren't you two good mates? She's not well, so let's go make things worse for her by telling her lad's playing away. It's like,
Lucy was one of those characters, though, wasn't she? Where she'd always do the right thing. She'd
yeah,
always
yeah.
be honest and be truthful, and didn't
And
really give much thought to how it was
yeah,
going to be received.
and then it was bring your daughter to work day. So Madame Lefebvre brought her daughter in, her daughter
Cecile.
Cecile, and the girl. No one really liked Cecile, did they? And it was because Lucy realised that Cecile was the girl, or she told everyone Cecile was the girl she'd seen Joe out with that time in the park when he was going out with Jessica. And this was the year of the school production of Grease, and Lucy got the part of Sandy, even though earlier on you said if they'd heard your singing, they
So
wouldn't have
true.
done.
I think that's why I think they must have changed the storyline.
Did the singing and dancing come easy to you, or not? Then are you?
No, 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 no. I've never been able to to sing. I'll belt out a tune in the shower, but
Yeah.
driving in the car, but no one wants to hear me
Yeah.
sing.
I mean,
Certainly not.
like obviously, like you say, we're only in 11 episodes, but you had that big storyline the year before. So obviously, like the sort of
Yeah,
a lot of the time you were there, it was sort of like moving scenes along, or as I say, you did get the Lucy did get the part of Sandy, and Cecile then joined the chorus. And as you say, the girls weren't happy about it. They didn't like it. And Cecile was like criticizing people, saying, singing was flat and stuff like that. And even when Cecile gave Lucy a compliment, Lucy didn't want to know. She said she didn't need their approval. And it was because of what had happened with Joe and Cecile and Jessica
yeah,
and stuff. Dudley had been suspended for spray painting graffiti. So everyone went to spend it like an afternoon with him. And they were all on rollerblades. And Lucy had a fall. So I've got two questions for you about that. Could you
yeah.
actually skate?
Yeah, I love roller skating.
Right.
Do you know what? I love when I was younger, I loved roller skating, but I had this. If you don't know much about skating, this might bamboozle your brain, but
That's
I
okay.
used to wear the quads when I was younger, when I was growing up. So that
Right.
was the roller skate with the two wheels at the front and
Yeah.
two wheels at the back, right?
Uh-huh.
So they're quads. But back then when we filmed that scene, it was all about roller blades,
Yeah.
which is the four inline
Yeah.
wheels. We call them inline skates. And interestingly, I'm going to tell you as soon as we're talking about it.
Go for it.
My daughter is an inline roller speed champion.
Wow.
Yeah. Um,
Brilliant.
so it's funny how full
Yeah.
circle moment. It's mad. But no, anyway, so yeah, so that was the first time I'd ever worn rollerblades in my life.
Right.
So that fall was staged,
Right.
obviously, but yeah, so I did it myself. So I literally just hit the curb and
Yeah.
just rolled
So
over.
was my second question about that was there much stunt training involved for the
No, none at
fall?
all. No, none at all. I've got a grass verge to roll over. So literally, we just go down the path, and then I deliberately hit the curb, and then I just tumbled to the
Right.
ground. And I think I remember watching that episode back once, thinking, "Oh my God, that was awful!" Like to me, I was rolling forever, and it was like a really dramatic fall. And then I watched it back, I was like, "That was But that was my very, very first time ever wearing rollerblades. But
Right.
I used to skate years and years ago.
Brilliant. So Lucy ended up on crutches and couldn't be Sandy in
Yeah.
the school production of Grease. And obviously
Was so
Cecile
looking forward to singing.
Cecile stepped in. So Lucy did go to watch the play. Now you must remember this. What did Lucy end up doing during the play? She had quite a prominent role in something.
Did I push the seal?
No,
Did I push her?
you ended up in the toilets.
I don't know. What did
Lucy
I
ended
do?
up in the toilets delivering Mrs. Maguire's baby with Dennis.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The secretary, that's right. She was pregnant. She was really heavily pregnant. What
Yeah,
was Dennis doing? Oh, Dennis heard her yell, I think.
yeah.
And then I've heard something. I've gone running in there, and then Dennis is delivering this baby. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
Brilliant. Um,
Classic Grange Hill.
yeah, yeah.
What's going to happen next?
But I love it. There's a little conversation afterwards, and Dennis was saying, "Oh, it was amazing," but he was like, how did they fit in there?" And Lucy's like, "Well, don't ask me."
They pushed in and pulled out.
Brilliant. And then moved on. Then series 20, we're in sixth form, lower sixth. The first scene of that one is you're watching the rugby match. Dennis scores a try and runs over, hugs Lucy, picks her up, runs off, and Lucy realizes that she's covered in mud. And this is another quite big storyline, I think, for Lucy. This about when her dad started seeing someone else called Francesca and wanted Lucy to meet her. And Lucy's obviously struggling with it, 16 years old. Your mum's passed away like 2 years ago. So Lucy was saying, like, if this woman comes round, it was like she'd be accepting it. And she didn't want to because she didn't want to obviously forget about her mum, which then Dennis offered to go round to give Lucy some support, which then Lucy then says to Dennis, yeah, but make sure you dress nicely, which says, like the lad's standing out your out here, you're just being horrible to him. And Lucy arranged to go to a party with Dennis, but Dennis went out shopping for clothes. He was going to go with Josh, but Josh had fallen out with Dennis. So Dennis went shopping with Claire. Now, Loddon and Carleen saw them out shopping and obviously told Lucy that they'd seen Dennis out with another girl,
My
uh,
loyal friends.
just stirring things up. And, Dennis did go down to Lucy's for the meal and all that. And I just thought it was done really well. It was sort of like this Francesca was sort of introduced like slowly. And Francesca was really friendly. And Dennis got on really well with her. But Lucy still wouldn't have. She seemed really friendly, but I'm not getting taken in by her. Proper teenage girl. Like,
Yeah.
because she
Lucy
was,
didn't like her one bit.
no,
She had no reason to not
no.
like her.
And she was still annoyed with Dennis until Dennis turned up with flowers. And she said she just didn't want her dad going out with anyone, basically, and completely understandable. Like, she was worried Francesca was going to move in, and she said if she moved in, then Lucy would move out. And Lucy wanted to go out to the cinema, but Dennis had a rugby match the next day and wanted an early night, which led to them having a bit of an argument about it. But the next day, they had a chat about how Lucy was feeling, because obviously, we said Lucy was dealing with all sorts. And they'd made up, and then Lucy said to Dennis, go to your rugby match. And that was when Dennis went off on his bike and had that accident, which was another massive storyline that you were involved in. It's that one you're dealing with, the bit with the dad, but also with Dennis as well. Now, Lucy was trying to reassure Dennis after the accident, because he was paralyzed. She was trying to reassure him he was going to be okay. But obviously, Dennis was really bitter about it. Lauren had asked Lucy to go to a tramps and tarts party to try and cheer her up about Dennis. Lucy was getting ready for the party, then had an argument with her dad about his girlfriend staying over. She tried ringing Dennis at the hospital to speak to him, but he was asleep. And so she decided not to go to the party. Francesca then took Lucy to the hospital. And when she got there, we see Dennis doing the physio, but he got angry and told Lucy that she shouldn't go and see him anymore. Now, Lauren was then having a party, and Lucy saw the note that her dad had taken from Lauren the week before about the Tramps and Tarts party. So she turned up at this house party at Lauren's in fancy dress for the Tramps and Tarts party, and no one else was. So Carleen gave her a jacket to preserve her modesty, shall we say. Now, at the party, because Lauren and Andy, brother and sister, were black, obviously almost everyone else at the party was. And a lad had asked Lucy to dance, and she said no. And then he was sort of asking her what a problem was. And he said that he thought Lucy had a problem with him being black. And Lucy then told Carleen she felt uncomfortable there. She was going to go because I think she probably was the only white person there. And Carleen sort of started laughing, like, and saying, like, oh, you're going to tell me you're being discriminated against and all this, like. And Lauren then saw Lucy in what she was wearing and got angry because Lauren had all that other storyline about when they were going to that party and how they'd been arrested and strip searched as well. Yeah. And Lucy didn't even know that she'd been arrested. And Dennis came back to school. She was trying to be nice to Dennis because obviously she was, but Dennis was just so horrible to her, but never seemed to be horrible to anyone else. And I think that's one of those things, isn't it? Like, you sort of, that thing where you hate those closest to you.
Closest to you,
because
yeah.
She was just trying to help him the way everyone else was. He was dead nice to everyone, but not Lucy. He wasn't like that with anyone else. And it started getting to the point where Lucy was just trying to get Dennis to do normal things. And in the end, she basically said to him, I can't do anything right by you. And Dennis sort of realized and apologized. And then Lucy then was talking about going on holiday, but like a walking holiday. And I think she was just their way of dealing with stuff. And Dennis heard people talking about it and said to Lucy, you mustn't want me around. Because, as I say, he was obviously very bitter about what was going on. He was dealing with his own sorts of stuff. And then we then found out that Dennis was getting sick a lot. He was getting a lot of infections. And that was sort of causing him. He was getting headaches. And that was causing him to sort of lash out and stuff and show him what he was dealing with. Not only the fact that he couldn't walk anymore, but the fact that he was also dealing with getting ill from it as well. And Lucy then met Francesca's son, Liam, from Ireland. And they went to a dry ski slope with him and her dad and Francesca. I know you could skate. Could you actually ski?
Oh, but they did take me. I remember this. They took me to, I think it was that ski slope in Hemel Hempstead.
Right.
They took us there for like look, because I'd never skied before in my life, just down a dry ski slope.
Uh-huh.
That was interesting.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's the first and the last
But,
time I've
like,
ever
I
skied.
think you look like you knew what you were doing. You know what I mean? You didn't look like it was your first time, I'll be
I'm just a
honest.
really good actress. Fake it until you make it.
Brilliant.
No, really not. No, skiing is not my thing.
Right. Okay.
No.
But like introducing this new character, Liam, Lucy told Liam that she liked his mum, which was a far cry from when from when she first met her. And Lucy's dad told Lucy that he and Francesca were going to get married. And Liam told Lucy that he'd known for a couple of days before Lucy did. And Lucy and Liam were getting closer. And Lucy and Dennis seemed to be growing apart. Liam told Lucy that he'd always wanted a sister. And obviously, Lucy was disappointed by this because obviously her feeling, in all her confusion, the feeling she was getting for this
Yeah,
lad were very
yeah.
different. Like Dennis was looking for Lucy to talk to her about what was going on when he fell down the stairs in the school. An ambulance came and Lucy wouldn't go with him, and which caused Dudley to have a go at Lucy with him. And Lucy said she'd done all that. And she was having a real crisis of conscience there because she did feel guilty about
Yeah.
Dennis, but was also falling for this other lad. And then Lucy then kissed Liam and told him that she loved him and not as a brother, which they were going to be obviously stepbrother and sister. But Liam then says to her and breaks her heart, the only good thing about going back to Ireland was that he'd get to see his girlfriend again. So she had that, and then she did
Just this
then,
moment that
yeah,
was.
then told Dennis that she was sorry for everything, and she was also sorry she couldn't do anything, and that they weren't working out. And Dennis agreed, and that Dennis said they should call it off, but still be friends. So we move on to your last year. Dennis's court case was the main thing in this series. Lucy was called as like a character witness. Was that in an actual courtroom? Because it didn't look like a set. It looks like it was done in a proper court, like.
Honestly, can't remember.
Right.
I honestly can't remember. Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
Might well have been actually.
Yeah, because
They did like to take us on location, so it
yeah,
might well have been a proper courtroom.
yeah. As to say,
I don't ever remember them making a set.
it doesn't look like a
No, I
studio.
don't think it would have been.
It's really grand and
No.
all that. Like,
We had our studio was pretty fixed, like that all the school rooms and corridors and whatnot. They would just shuffle it around from time to
yeah,
time. Like my kitchen at home, that was part of the set that they put in. But I don't ever remember them having a courtroom set. No,
right,
I think they probably would have taken us on location for that. I
yeah.
think.
No, so in the court after Lucy had been on the stand, she was said that she was worried that she'd let Dennis down because she had been crying on the stand, but she clearly didn't let Dennis down because Dennis was then given £500,000 as an out of court settlement. And it was then sort of like everything else that was going on with Dennis and how he was going to spend his money. And Dennis was planning on going on like this trekking holiday around Australia. And Claire was helping Dennis get ready for it. And Lucy got really angry with Claire. And I don't know if it was just like a touch of jealousy or whatever, because she was saying to him, you're raising his hopes. You know, how's he going to be able to get around Australia when he can't even get on the bus? Do you think it was a touch of jealousy there?
I do.
Because
Yeah,
she's
I
finished with the
do.
lads, and then he's given £500,000. Your timing's
Yeah,
impeccable there, isn't it?
yeah. I think. I mean, she obviously did care for Lucy. Did care for Dennis a lot.
Yeah,
That was obvious. And it just no, it didn't work out. And I think being realistic, there was a bit of truth in that. I think realistically, how
yeah,
was he going to cope by himself doing all that? It seemed like a big task soon after his accident and whatnot.
yeah,
For his rehabilitation, I don't think he would have coped very well with that. So yeah, I think there was a bit of truth, but also I think a little bit of jealousy.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
And then Dennis then told Lucy that he'd bought her the horse Blue Heaven. Now, in that episode, Dennis says to Lucy, "You've been doing this all your life." So you, Lucy could roller skate. She could ski. Could you ride a horse?
Since I was 7. I loved it.
Right. Okay.
It's all I ever did. It was actually the only thing that I did. I tried out so many different stuff, gymnastics and ballet and tap and you name it. And my mum probably had me trying it, all of it. But as soon as I found horse riding at the age of 7, that was it. So
Right.
at this time, throughout the whole time I was on Grange Hill, I had a share of a pony or a horse or
Wow.
whatever it was. It changed as I grew.
Yeah.
And I was saying to them, look, I have a horse that I share, that I ride. And he wasn't stable. I didn't live that far away from the studios. I'm like, can we use my horse? Because you won't get a better connection there
Yeah.
than with me and my horse. I'm like, please let me use my, and they said, well, they're like, how are we going to make this work? And I said, it won't be an issue. I said, because the owner of the horse, she will absolutely be thrilled to see her horse on TV. And
Yeah.
obviously he's my boy. I'd love to ride him
Yeah.
in this scene, and then we can just get the owner of the yard who owns the horse box can trailer him over. It's no problem. I had it all worked out. I sorted all of it. I'm like, no problem. It's so easy peasy. He'll be a boy. And then it turned out that the location they wanted to use, obviously they've got their own insurances, haven't they? So
Yeah.
can't really have a horse that come onto your yard that is not insured and all that. So
Oh.
health and safety and all that. So no, we had to use one of theirs, and they put me on this little white pony and gave it a racehorse name. And I'm like, that's not what I'm like. I'm saying, don't really call horses like
Yeah.
two separate names. They've got one name. It's Bob, or in my case, my horse was called Valley. So it's like that's his name, and you want to call him Blue Heaven,
Yeah.
little grey pony. And I'm thinking, okay, please let me help you out here. Let's just tweak this. And they're like, no, 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 we're going to use this pony, and this will be his name. And I'm like, okay, it's realistic, but okay, wrong with it. So, but yeah, no, horse riding was my thing. Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah,
Brilliant. Okay. So Dennis
yeah,
said, he bought the horse, and Lucy said, she told him he was stupid. He shouldn't have done it. He was acting too flash with his money. To which Dennis said, "Well,
yeah,
it was a good job he bought the horse on sale or return, then, wasn't it?" So, and then Dennis took all the six formers on a night out in a limo to a club. Lucy had a chat with Dennis, and he asked her to go to Australia with him because he needed her in his life. But Lucy told him that they were in the past, and he needed a new future now. And then it ended with a surprise party where everyone got dressed up again. Now, I've said this a few times, but I always like those episodes where when they were in sixth form, they went out to a club or they got dressed up and all that, because it's just so different, isn't it, to, being in your school uniform or your own clothes in sixth form and
uniform.
doing something different like that. Like I say, I always thought it was great when they did that, and you must have had a ball doing those episodes as well. Like,
Yeah.
but that was the last time. Not only did Dennis leave, obviously everyone else in that year group left, and it's the last time we saw Lucy Mitchell 82 episodes later. So, how did you feel about leaving?
Oh, I was quite sad, to be honest.
Yeah,
I was quite sad about it. It felt like home. It was comfortable. All these years, and to think that that was all about to end. It was quite
yeah,
sad. I'll be honest. Yeah,
yeah.
it was
Okay,
sad.
so can I ask then, because you were there for 6 years, so who would you say
Mm.
were your best friends on the show then?
Oh, I mean, there was I mean, everyone did get along. It was like I've heard people say this before, and it is so true, albeit cliche. We were just like a big family.
Yeah,
We grew up together, spent so much time together. Um, Melanie Joseph, um, Stephen Hammett, Kelly George. He was on and off for years, and he was my brother's friend. He went to school with Dave, so he was always like a big brother.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so many.
brilliant.
Just really, really, really lovely, good, decent people.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
brilliant. Okay, so then what did you do then after Grange Hill?
Mm. So, my home life was um not easy at that time. There was a lot of changes going on,
Right.
and so I had to grow up quick and get a proper job quick,
Uh-huh.
and help with my youngest siblings,
Right.
um, help financially to support the home. So it was there were difficult times at home. They were quite difficult. David kind of moved out at that point, and I was kind of the oldest child in the home. So I had to grow up quick, and I had two younger siblings. So yeah, I had to find money quick.
Right.
Um, I was a few months after ending Grange Hill, I was given a two episodes on EastEnders, playing a friend of the new DeMarco family that were moving in.
Oh yeah.
So that part was just kind of given to me. A director that was working on EastEnders at the time, they just said, "Oh, we need a friend for this new family," and then they just rang me up and said, "You can do 4 days filming on EastEnders, just two episodes that you'll be in." Um, and that was the last acting job I did.
Wow. So it was
The
like
last I just
conscious move away, like from acting.
um, I mean, I kind of had other priorities
Right.
with home and family, and I
Uh-huh.
kind of put that first. So there was a couple of auditions come up. I remember one of them, my little sister was taken to hospital quite suddenly, so I
Right.
didn't go to the audition, and
Uh-huh.
I went to the hospital. So
Yeah.
I kind of put family first. I don't think my my agent liked that very much, but to me, family was more important. So
Yeah.
I did that, and then the calls stopped coming, and then I was in a job where I couldn't just drop everything and go to auditions, and I didn't really have a lot of money. The money that I did, I was trying to help family with, so uh, it just stopped, and I just put my priorities elsewhere. And I was quite happy to close the door. To be honest with you, brutally honest, I struggled with the whole limelight thing. I
Yeah.
didn't, like I say, I was quite a shy person, and anyone that says otherwise just saw the comfortable side of me. I think
Yeah.
I don't think they realized that I wasn't really an extrovert. I was only sort of outgoing in a comfortable environment around people that I was comfortable with. So I had never really coped very well with fame, if you like.
Yeah.
It was difficult for me. I found it awkward, and I didn't enjoy the attention, to be honest with you.
Right.
So for me, I was quite happy to close the door on Grange Hill. Loved it,
Yeah.
really, really enjoyed it. Special memories. I wouldn't change it for the world. Um, but at that time, I was happy to close the door on it and just put it to bed and
Yeah.
go and hide into the shadows and just focus on me and um, reprioritize my life to where I was needed most. So yeah, that's how that happened. That's how that came about.
Yeah. So can I ask then? So what do you do now?
Um, let's just say I work for the emergency
Right.
services.
Okay. Okay. Fair
We'll
enough.
just say that.
And
So you won't find me on social media anywhere.
no,
I won't because of I work because of work thing and personal thing. I was quite happy to leave that there. And with my professional life now,
yeah.
you don't really put your name out there. So that's why I'm kind of fine in the shadows.
Yeah. Do you ever get recognized?
Well, see, here's the thing. Yes, however, I do apparently have a doppelganger.
Right.
And I've never met this person, but so many people say to me, there is a girl out there, or a woman now out there called Sarah,
Uh-huh.
apparently. And we look very much alike to the
Right.
point that people think that she's me and they say, "Oh, Sarah." And I'm like, I'm sorry, I have no clue who you're talking about. Um, but I don't believe they act. I don't believe they're on TV. So yeah, I get recognized a lot, but for
For-
just a regular
Just
person in the street. So that's quite odd. So that's quite
brilliant.
odd. So yeah, it makes it so much easier when people say, "Oh, you look really familiar." I'm like, "Yes, so do you." And I just play that game.
Brilliant. And are you still in touch with anyone from the cast now?
I mean, like I said before, I've exchanged a couple of messages with Alan Cave and more recently Melanie Joseph.
Uh-huh.
Um, other than them two, oh, and some dude that played Barry,
Oh yeah,
Dave.
that fella. Yeah,
Yeah, I come across him from time to time as well.
yeah, brilliant. Brilliant.
Um,
Okay,
yeah.
well, so we are coming towards the end of the interview, Belinda, and I've got the same few questions that I always ask everyone at the end of the interview. So they're all Grange Hill related. Okay, so in the last couple of years, there's been talk of a Grange Hill movie in the works. Phil Redmond's written it. Um, what do you think of the idea of a Grange Hill movie?
I don't know what audience are they playing to, is all I'm thinking with that. Are they trying to appeal to the audience that used to watch
Yeah,
Grange Hill, or are they looking to find a new audience? So a bit confused behind the idea. Is it a school setting, or is it a kind of a where they are now kind of deal? I haven't heard enough about it to know whether it's a good idea or not.
yeah.
Um, so no, interesting one.
But if you were asked, would we see a return of Lucy Mitchell?
In a heartbeat.
Brilliant.
Of all the jobs I've done, I've done a few. I've done a few jobs. I don't think they'd be calling me. I think there was far better characters to call upon, if I'm being honest. So I don't think they'd be calling me. But of all the jobs I've done, and I've done a few, acting is out my favorite outright.
Yeah,
So yeah, in a heartbeat.
brilliant,
Yeah,
brilliant. Okay,
absolutely.
so you've said earlier on that you did start watching Grange Hill when Dave joined. So other than Lucy, who was your favourite character in Grange Hill?
Oh, that is a good question. Um, I quite like Justine.
Uh-huh.
Reason being, I think I saw a lot of um, Lucy's character in that character, just a younger
Yeah,
version of. Um, so yeah,
yeah,
I think Justine.
brilliant. And then
Yeah.
if you couldn't have played Lucy, and we know that you auditioned for Jodie, which other character would you like to have played if you couldn't have played Lucy?
Oh, well, that is a tricky one. Think let's go with Margot Selby's Julie Corrigan, because she had a few
Yeah,
quirky storylines, didn't she? She was a little bit eccentric, wasn't she? Again, Margot
yeah,
Selby, wonderful,
yeah,
wonderful. She was great. She had a few quirky little storylines, a bit
yeah,
different, right? A bit eccentric. I
yeah,
think that would have been quite a nice character to play.
yeah.
Actually,
She
very
had
very different from the Lucy that I
her,
played. But
yeah, her character had a cracking like arc,
yeah, I
didn't
think
she?
that could have been quite fun.
Everything. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so the final question then, I nearly called you Lucy then. The final question, Belinda, is why do you think there is still such affection for Grange Hill?
Probably because, well, I mean, before I would say in the 80s, it was probably more popular. It was iconic, really, as we've discussed. There was some hard hitting storylines that were played very well.
Yeah,
And you don't often see it quite close to the mark. The programs they show on TV, they're over dramatized, aren't they?
uh-huh.
And I just think it was real. Grange Hill was real. You got the true story in all its glory. And, I think that holds affection in people's hearts.
Yeah,
What you see is what you get. It's a bit gritty at times, comedic at times.
yeah,
I just think it was just loved by so many.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I think it's wonderful. There's so many people out there that are just keeping the memory of Grange Hill alive. I think it's great. I'd wonder how it'd be perceived now if it got repeated on TV.
yeah,
What would the kids make of that today?
yeah.
I really do wonder.
I mean, you can
Yeah.
see it on. Obviously, there's always bootleg episodes turn up on YouTube, but you can see it properly remastered and stuff on ITVX Premium. So
Oh,
that's where
really? Right.
that's where your episodes can be seen properly there. Like,
I can't watch myself. I binge. I can't watch myself. Honest to God, I can't. I hate listening to my voice back, and I can't watch myself. I absolutely cringe. It's awful. It's awful.
Brilliant.
I caught a couple of the episodes back. I'm like, oh my God, I was so bad. What a bad. I'm surprised they didn't cut me, honest to God, like
No,
years.
you're doing
How
yourself a
did I manage
disservice
6 years?
there.
I don't know. No, I just think, I don't know. It took me a few years, I think, to really grow into the part. I think
Uh,
it was really the HIV, the AIDS storyline. I
yeah.
think that I really felt like I was really in it. I really invested
Hmm.
myself into that storyline. I really did,
Yeah.
and I really kind of felt that that was probably the best you'd have got out of me. I think, um, yeah.
Brilliant.
But the earlier stuff I couldn't can't bear to watch. So
Oh, you were a
no,
little girl, though,
no,
weren't
I
you?
haven't.
You know what I mean? You were a little girl. You were
Yeah,
learning.
yeah, very young.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Brilliant.
was learning. Yeah, I was young
Yeah.
and I was learning. Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, well, Belinda, thanks so much for coming on. This is an interview I never thought was going to happen. So I'm so glad that you've come on. And yeah,
Well, Neil, honestly, thank you for taking me on this trip down memory lane. It's
no,
been great. I
not
might
at,
just back into the shadows now,
yeah.
if that's okay.
No, brilliant. No, honestly, thanks once again. It's been great talking to you and hearing your experiences. It's been really good. And
My pleasure.
anyone that's listening, I'll speak to you next time. Cheers. Thanks. Bye bye.